Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Raw Chatter. I am your host speaking, Vicky Midwood, health coach, and I am also the addiction eliminator and stress eating specialist. I have got a fabulous guest with me today who has got a story that all of you will be interested by. Janet is somebody that I met via networking, and we got talking about her history and how she got to do what she now does. Janet used to be a nurse practitioner until she discovered that there was a whole area of healing that she now helps other people to thrive in. So, Janet, tell us about your journey into what you do now. And thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Vicki. I really appreciate the opportunity to share with your audience. I have to take you back to the Air Force. My husband and I were both active duty Air Force for about 13 years. And during that time, we went to Desert Storm. And while we were there, actually before we went, they injected things into us like anthrax. They thought it might help us if we were chemically attacked. I think their rationale was good, but probably the outcomes were not so good.
Just for anybody listening, do you want to explain what anthrax is? Because some people might not know.
It's basically something that humans have never had put into their bodies, foreign object that it's just not something you want in your body because we really didn't know how it would work with humans. It's generally not used in people. And then while we were over there, as the war started, Saddam decided he was going to burn all the oil fields in Kuwait. And that created, we were the closest base to Kuwait, and that created this huge cloud of toxic fumes and tar, et cetera, that we were exposed to for a very long period of time. It pretty much blotted out the sun a lot of days. That's how much was in the air. It was really bad. So between all these things, when I came back from Desert Storm, I started getting all these different issues, 2 autoimmune diseases. I had sleep disturbances, colon issues. I had joint and muscle pain. And then I also had nerve pain, like from my arm and my elbows to my hands and my knees to my feet. And I'm like, what is going on with my body?
When these things started to show up, did you know that that's what they were? Or did you just think maybe I'm coming down with a cold or a virus? Or what were you thinking when you kept getting these weird symptoms?
Well, originally, I didn't think anything was connected. And honestly, the doctors, a lot of times when you have certain kind of symptoms, they try to make you think that maybe part of it is just something you're creating through your own mind. So, they kind of go down that route. They also want to put you on drugs like narcotics and antidepressants, et cetera. And I'm like, I do anesthesia for a living. I'm not going to take a narcotic and go work, right? So it was kind of crazy. So that led me down a path of always looking for holistic ways to heal. And I did spend a lot of time doing those kind of therapies to keep myself at least functioning enough that I could work and take care of my family. I had 2 children and a husband to take care of. So that was the process of just searching for holistic ways to heal. And that did work.
Can I just take you back to that whole process where you're feeling these symptoms coming on, like the unexplained muscle pains, and you're going back to your GP and they're suggesting antidepressants or narcotics, and the whole time you're trying to be an anesthesiast. Is that how you say it? Anesthesiast?
It's in the US, it's nurse anesthetist.
Anesthetist, right? So you're basically looking after and trying to reassure other people who are probably in a lot of pain and worried about what they're going to go through. And you yourself are struggling with this stuff. So was every day you almost feeling like you were having to drag yourself through it? How are you managing to just continue?
Well, I tell you, I think a lot of it has to do with your attitude, with your mind. I knew that I was a strong individual. I could get through anything, and I had a great spouse to be behind me to help me on the really rough days, taking over for the kids. And I would come home from work and just go to bed. He'd have the kids. So things like that were very good. And my spiritual life, relying on God, and certainly there were times when I would ask him, like, okay, what is going on, Lord? Like, why am I dealing with all this at the same time? And, so just kind of focusing on those things rather than focusing on the chronic pain and illness. I am not my illness. I am not whatever's going on in my body. That's not who I am. That's just what I'm going through at the moment. So that was kind of my thought processes at the time. And then about
Amazing.
8 years after the war was over, the government finally said, oh, there's this whole group of illness issues that are going on in Desert Storm veterans. About 250,000 of us developed issues.
Wow.
And I just happened to be one of those lucky people.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So then they finally said, yes, this really is a thing. And I think for me, that was a point where like, oh, okay, this all starts to make sense now, why I'm going through all this. It even eventually led to colon cancer. And now I'm disabled, 80% disabled veteran because of all the issues that I dealt with there.
Wow.
Yeah. So that at least gave me the sense of, okay, I know it's not in my head, but now I have a reason to know that these are the things I'm going through and why. And what am I going to do about it? I'm certainly not going to take the drugs they want to give me. So I really searched for holistic healing and used acupuncture and deep tissue massage, chiropractic care, some herbs and supplements along the way, lots of prayer. So using all these things, but I was always searching. And then one day I was in a networking meeting and someone was telling me about a patch technology. And I'm like, I've never heard of this. And he said, it actually will activate your own stem cells to work for healing. And I, of course, in my head, I'm thinking, well, that's a bunch of bravado. I can't.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm very logical when it comes to medicine. So it's like, that doesn't make any sense to me. How can that work? You put a patch on and all of a sudden your stem cells are increasing.
Yeah.
And I really didn't understand the technology when he was talking about it because it's hard to explain in a sentence or two. Yeah. So, but he said it decreases pain and inflammation. And I'm like, okay, send me some.
Let me have a try. Yeah.
I gave it a try. It had a money back guarantee. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. And my husband also was having an issue with his shoulder, really bad pain from a tear in his shoulder. That was, they were talking surgery.
Right.
So he says, get some for me too. So we're both on these patches. And the first day I wore it, now my whole thought process is, I'm sure this is going to do anything. And you don't generally feel anything with these patches to begin with because it's working at the cellular level. And you don't feel your cells working. You don't feel your DNA, every day. That's not something you're feeling. So I wasn't anticipating anything, but I went to bed that night and my sleep issues were pretty significant. I could go to sleep, but I couldn't stay asleep more than 4 hours. I'd wake up, I couldn't go back to sleep. And, that's very exhausting, if you're raising a family and trying to work and do all those things and on 4 hours of sleep a night or less. Yeah. So that night I slept almost 7 hours. It was close to 7 hours. And I woke up and I yelled out, I had a dream. And my husband's like, is Martin Luther King in the room? What are you talking about? I said, look at the time. I didn't wake up all night and I had a dream. And so dreaming is happening in the restorative phases of sleep. And I never got that. Very rarely had I dreamt in years and years. So I was really excited about that. And I said to Bob, I wonder if that was a patch or if that's just a fluke. Well, it wasn't a fluke. It was the stem cell activation patch X39 that helped me to actually helps to reset your circadian rhythm. So it got my sleep pattern back where it needed to be. And I sleep pretty well now almost every night. So no issues there. And then I was like, okay, well, what is this going to do? And all the issues I dealt with in Desert Storm over time, not all of them immediately, but over time, the joint pain and muscle pain and all the swelling I would have in my joints, all that went away fairly quickly. Nerve pains took longer. So I had pain down into my buttocks, down my leg, that pain that not everybody, hopefully everybody doesn't have that. But
but if you've had it, you certainly know about it.
Yeah, they know about it. That pain went away in about 3 months and it's been gone for over 2 years. Incredible. And then the pain that I had in my arms, the nerve pain in my arms and legs went away in about somewhere around 7 months. I'm not exactly sure because as the pain diminishes, you pay less attention to it.
Right. And I think the message that's really important that you're taking across here is that you got, I call it power of the universe, God. It's actually the patches working, but there was something that gave you a sign for you that was sleeping for 7 hours for you to go, right, I'm going to persevere with this. I don't really understand it, but I'm going to keep on doing it. And I think it's so important that you've just let people know that it wasn't like a couple of days that everything was fixed. It wasn't even a couple of weeks or a couple of months. It was a significant amount of time. And you have to, you correct me if I'm wrong, but you wear them every single day.
Yes, you do. And while I was waiting for the patches to come, I did a deep dive into the company called LifeWave. I researched the patch that he was sending me, the X39, and I finally understood, okay, this is how it works. And to put it very simply, it's the same process as you go out into the sun, a wavelength of light goes into your body and makes the vitamin D process start, right? Everybody knows about that function in our body. Well, this is the same idea, except the source of the wavelength is not the sun. It's your own infrared body field interacts with a patch. A specific wavelength of light goes in your body that elevates a copper peptide and called GHK. And they've known for almost 50 years, a scientist by the name of Lauren Picard actually found that GHK copper peptide, did many, many, many studies on it. There's like 140 studies on it. And some of the things that happen when you elevate that are it turns stem cells back on and creates new one. It floods your system with collagen. So people have some changes in their skin and wrinkles and those kinds of things, which was bonus.
Yeah.
Not what I cared about at the time. I just wanted to feel better. But that was bonus. And it resets genes in your body. So, I mean, it's doing some phenomenal things by wearing a patch every day. It's pretty cool.
It's incredible. And the reason for those of you listening why I was so excited about this is some of you may recall that I had a guest on who actually went for stem cell therapy, and she had to go out of state because you can get it done in the States. You had to go into Mexico. Mm-hmm. And it was actually an injection that they did. And she'd done her research. But, you know, we're talking a significant amount of money and obviously time then that you've got to recover and you've got to be in this place. And she had a particular autoimmune issue that's very, very rare. But what you're saying about this patch, and this is why I'm so excited about it, is because it's available for anybody. And it is not a ridiculous extortionate amount of money that we're talking about. Yeah. And there is no kind of anybody can use it. Basically, there are no people who it shouldn't really be utilized for. Well, there's a few caveats, but in the main, it is for anybody who has got any of the issues that you've been talking about, and they're just not getting any joy, as you weren't, from your GP, or they're just been given the alternative of drugs, which, as we know, have side effects. They all do, that are going to then either make you feel sometimes even worse and still not tackle the issue, or you're left with other issues that you hadn't banked on. So I'm also excited about it because people are now listening more, and I think we're learning so much more all the time about peptides. And I'm so pleased that you talked about that, because one of the peptides that people have been getting their knickers in a knot about, of course, has been the GLP-1, the semaglutide, and all of that good stuff. But ultimately, these are peptides. And the more we can understand about how to activate peptides and use microdosing as opposed to massive amounts of injectables, the more we can start to recognize that we've got a lot more ability to take responsibility for our health than always having to rely on your general practitioner or a drug, haven't we?
Yes, I absolutely agree. So for a cup of coffee a day,
right,
you can wear this wearable technology that nothing is going in your body but a wavelength of light. So it doesn't interfere with anything you're doing. If you're on medication, it doesn't interfere with that. The caveats for wearing it, if you're actively going through chemotherapy, we tell people to wait till you're finished, and then you use them. It will help to absolutely to detox that stuff out of your body. If you are or have had a organ transplant and you're on immune suppressant medication, this is going to boost your immune system, which we don't want to do if you're on that. So that's a caveat. And of course, we always say pregnant because we don't test in pregnant women. And we leave that up to the individual, but they are very safe for animals and for children. A lot of kids on the spectrum are having some amazing changes. not just children, but all ages on that. So yeah, it's not just physical things. It's also working with your brain. So it's just does some amazing things. And a lot of times people think, oh, this is really too good to be true. And it sounds like science fiction.
It does, but it's really not. It's science fact, isn't it?
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But the proof is in the pudding. Our company has had 2,000% growth since the stem cell activation patch came out. That's unheard of. And our company's 20 years old this year. So, you can't really argue with that. If it wasn't working for people, we wouldn't have that kind of growth.
And that's the other thing that got me really excited and why I wanted to have you on as a guest, because it's a 20-year-old company. This is not just kind of some new fangled idea that a company's jumped on to try and make some money out of people. This is a company that is science-based. These patches are science-backed. You can look into exactly how stem cells work, how the activation actually happens through the patches. If you actually do watch all of the videos that are available and take in the stuff and do your own research on stem cells as well, you can see that it's very much science backed. There's no woo-woo in it, even though it does sound, like you said, a bit science fiction. And there's no better guinea pig than yourself. If you've got issues and you are, like you were, very skeptical, just give them a try. And that's the beauty as well, because you said the company offers a money back guarantee.
Yes, they do.
Awesome.
They do.
Yeah. So if somebody wanted to come to you and say, Janet, I'm excited about what you've just shared, and how do I get these patches for myself? Can I have them? What do people need to do? What's the journey like?
Well, I offer a free consultation with anybody who wants to learn more about it and to find out what their story is and how we need to help them through their health issues. We are not physicians. So we tell people, if you have any concerns at all, to contact your physician and talk about it. I can tell you that generally they'll say, I don't know what that is, but if it's phototherapy, it's not going to hurt you. That's generally what the response I get. If people have high sugar or high blood pressure, then I tell them to make sure they're monitoring that, because things may get better over time, and we don't want them to get too low in any of those things. So just to monitor yourself, which you should be doing anyway.
Right.
If you're on medication for those issues. So those are the kind of the caveats of what I want to do is help people to figure out the best thing for them, and also to find out how I can save them the most money for the patches.
Right. And on a note there on medication, people can be on medication. That doesn't have to be a reason for them not to try the patches. That's correct, isn't it?
That is very correct. Yes.
Yeah. And which again is great, because so many people are concerned about if they get more drugs, how does one drug interact with another, and you're not going to have those worries and those concerns, which I think is very important. So there are also different types of patches, aren't there? And this is where talking to you, rather than somebody just going, oh, I'm just going to Google these patches and go get them, you need to have a consultation, don't you? Because there's not just one patch, you've got a variety. Tell us a little bit more about what some of the other patches can sort of be more specialized towards.
Sure. The patch was originally designed, the patch technology, by David Schmidt. He was working with the military, with the Navy SEALs and the mini-sub programs. And they asked him if he had any technology, because phototherapy technology has, been around for centuries, right? And the government has been using it way more than we know about. So he designed this patch for them and called it the energy enhancer, so that they wouldn't be taking a bunch of caffeine or amphetamines to stay awake, right, for 2 or 3 days at a time. And they found that not only did they give them energy, but also recovering from being there was faster. And then what happened was 9/11, and the government is like, we don't have time to deal with your technology. So he was free to start his own company called LifeWave in 2004. And that patch went out to the sports world like crazy. So Olympians, professional athletes, collegiate athletes, all wearing these energy enhancer patches. It went through the whole anti-doping thing with the Olympics, because the other people were saying, oh, well, their times are faster because they have a drug on there in that patch. And of course, there is no drug; it's just technology. So in 2004, I was watching the Olympics with my husband, and I looked over to him. I was like, Michael Phelps and his whole swim team. I'm like, why are they all wearing Band-Aids? Because that's what it looked like. You know,
Right. Yeah.
these Band-Aids all over them. It's just weird. They were energy enhancers. So it's just been something that has progressed all along. He designed things for pain, for sleep, different patches for targeted things. But he knew that the holy grail of age reversal and regeneration inside our body was stem cells.
Yeah.
So he worked for 10 years and spent over $4 million designing X39, the stem cell activation enhancement patch. And that is, that's what is helping so many people. And generally we start people with that patch because it can do so many things. And then depending on what their issues are, they may need a different patch. Probably the most frequent one that I use with, in addition to that, is called Eon. It's spelled AEON. It has two really interesting things it does. It balances your fight or flight, so your stress hormones aren't being kicked out all the time and draining your adrenals, which is amazing for your health.
Yeah.
So you feel a little calmer, and anxiety, depression is better. And the other thing it does is it decreases 5 kinds of inflammation. So if people have a lot of pain issues,
right,
which also drains your adrenals, that is something that I might include with the stem cell activation patch.
Right, and that's what I was going to ask you. So would you utilize those two things together? Could you? Yes.
You can, absolutely. You can use any of our patches together. Right. But our foundational patch is X39, the stem cell activation elevation patch.
Amazing. Absolutely fantastic. I am so excited to get my hands on some of these, I have to say, because I not personally, although now you've mentioned the Eon patch, I'm like, maybe that sounds very interesting, but also from a client point of view. And I think as well, we've got so many people who probably like the sound of that energy one when you described that, because how many people feel that they need to turn to caffeine or whatever just to get through the day, and if we can reduce the amount of things that we're turning to externally and let the body do what the body is designed to do with a bit of a nudge from a patch, then what better way to do it?
Awesome. Well, interestingly enough, this X39, the stem cell elevation patch, it gave me enough energy. I didn't feel like I needed to use the energy enhancer. So generally I don't use it unless I'm having a really long kind of day. Doing something really physical, then I'll do it. But then I found out it burns an extra about 500 calories a day for most individuals. So I'm like, So when I'm on vacation, I wear it every day because I know I'm not eating my normal way, when you're on vacation. So that was kind of an interesting caveat that I learned.
And I'm so sure people are wondering, you've kind of given us a clue there, as it looks a little bit like a Band-Aid. Are there specific sites that people are meant to put them on? And, are they going to be very visible? Are people going to know that you're wearing it?
You do not have to let people know you're wearing it unless you want to. So we have a business in it, so we wear them visibly. So people ask, what's that?
Yeah.
But absolutely not. You can wear them. They had to standardize. All of our patches are researched with a bunch of studies behind them before they're ever put on the market, including the stem cell activation patch. So that one, they tested the back of the neck. There's a bump there right below that C7 is a high energy flow area for acupuncture. That was one place. Below your belly button, same thing, high energy for acupuncture. So those were the two places they standardized placement for the testing. And some of our patches need to be in specific places, but the stem cell activation patch does not. It can go anywhere.
Amazing.
So a lot of times people will place it where something hurts, like their knee or their shoulder or their back. And that's fine because it's going to work systemically throughout your whole body. So it doesn't matter where it is.
Right.
And the interesting thing about that to me, like you talked about people going to get a stem cell injection. Generally, those are given in a joint, like the knee joint or the shoulder, to help that area.
Yes.
What's great about this product, not only is it way less expensive, because most of those injections are somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000.
Correct.
To have them done.
Yeah.
And they may not work.
Yeah.
And you don't know where the source of the stem cells are coming from. So that part is a little intimidating to me.
Yeah.
But when you place a patch on you, our guide, I think, made us intuitive enough to know what needs to be worked on first. Then the stem cells go work on what needs first. And we may not even know what's going on. I'm like, I didn't know I had colon cancer until I had the symptoms.
Wow.
But, if things are being repaired before you even know there's an issue, and then that's how these work throughout the whole body, not just wherever you target those stem cells to go in by injection. So to me, that's the amazing part of this kind of technology, is it's working throughout your whole body.
And that's the beauty of it as well. It's kind of when you sort of spoke about it like that, I was just thinking along the lines of people might be familiar with taking adaptogens, for example, which kind of do the same sort of thing. It's like your body does know what is the important stuff to focus on first, and we can't possibly know, because as you said right at the beginning, we can't hear the cells healing. We don't know what's happening down there, but your body knows exactly what it needs to do first, and then next and next. And this is the joy of it. And of course, if you can't see it and you can't feel it, then you just put it on. I'm guessing, do you put it on first thing in the morning, or do you put it on before you go to bed? Does it matter? Is it every 24 hours you replace it?
It doesn't really matter. We wear them for 12 hours a day, though, because they found out in the studies, if you, our body has a mechanism, if you're signaling something constantly, that copper peptide, it eventually will get used to the signal and it won't work as well. Correct. So you wear them for 12 hours a day, and then you let your body rest from the signal. Generally, I encourage people to do it during the day. And the reason for that is you need to drink plenty of water with this technology. Right. It'll work without the water, but it'll work way better if you're drinking adequately. And maybe putting a little pinch of sea salt or Celtic salt in your water, or making sure there's some minerals put back in your water, because most of the water that we're drinking is very stripped of everything that makes water stay in our system. Yeah. So if you're drinking a lot of water, but it's just going through you constantly, then probably you need to add some minerals to it.
Yeah. Brilliant. I love that you've said that, because water could be a whole other podcast, couldn't it? Yes. Yeah. But I think the amount of people who just genuinely just don't drink enough anyway. But when you know that to make this thing work better, you need to, that in itself is a really good motivator. And of course, we know that if your body's well hydrated, you're just going to feel better, and everything's going to work that little bit better as well. And it makes sense to wear it during the day, because your body's busy doing other things when you're sleeping. And if those stem cells have been activated during the day, then that activation is going to remain through the night while the body is doing all of the other stuff that it does to get rid of all of the crap and repair and remake and everything. Fantastic. So tell us, how long then have you now been wearing the patches? Because you say you wear them all of the time, every day. Obviously, yes, I know it's your business, but the benefits from them, do you still struggle with any of the issues that were, because of what happened in Desert Storm, or have they pretty much gone now?
All my issues from Desert Storm pretty much were gone within 7 months.
Amazing.
And things that I thought would cripple me at one point, the nerve pain was, people who have nerve pain in their legs, they understand what I'm talking about. You get to a point where you just really can't stand the pain, and walking is really difficult. And I thought, I'm going to be crippled at some point from all this. Luckily, I'm not. And people ask me, well, okay, so how long do you wear these for? And I said, well, some people wear them for whatever issue's going on until that issue's fixed, and then they stop wearing them. I think of it as maintenance. There's certain things I do for maintenance in my health. I certainly get a colonoscopy, because I've had colon cancer and those kind of things. And I just look at this as maintenance for me. If I am replacing damaged cells with healthy cells every day, why would I not want to do that? To me, that's just
no brainer.
It is a no brainer. Yeah. But it's a good for the brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Yeah. Fantastic. Janet, I'm so excited about this technology, because obviously I've come across various patches over the 32 years I've been in the health and wellness world. There has been a lot of patches that have come along with some kind of claims, and I've tried a number. And I haven't actually felt the benefits that I hoped I would, but I am going to be a guinea pig for these, because it just makes so much sense to me. So folks, I'm going to put all of the links in the notes on Spotify and on Apple. They're going to be in the show notes. Obviously, they're going to be in the description on YouTube if you're watching on there. All of the links will be clickable, so you can get your free consultation with Janet if you want to give these a try. You Are you hanging out? Where on social media are you, Janet, if people want to just kind of see what you're putting out there?
Probably the easiest thing to do is to connect with me on LinkedIn. I am on Facebook also. Those are the two I'm on the most. I'm not consistent with anything.
Great stuff. And as is tradition, I always like to ask my guest what they would like our listeners to take away from today's episode. So what would you like your listeners and my listeners to take away from today?
I think the biggest thing to me is that people rely a little bit too much on what their doctor says. And I'm not bashing doctors. I worked medical for 42 years. I'm not bashing that at all. And there are times you absolutely need medication. Like I wouldn't want to have surgery without anesthesia, right? However, people almost get to the point where they're not paying any attention to what they can do for their health. So eating well, drinking enough water, getting adequate sleep, exercising especially, are all things that you can do to prolong the life of the stem cells you still have, right? So by the time we're 30, we have half functioning. By the time we're 60, we have pretty much squat about 10%. So to prolong what you have, you need to take control of your own health. And you need to research. You need to do the right things for your health. Don't rely on a quick fix or a medication to make those things happen, because generally the side effects from all that are going to be way worse than whatever you're dealing with. So just take control of your own health. If I can impart anything to you today, is to really pay attention. Research when somebody wants to put you on a medication. Research it before you say, okay, actually look at what this drug can do to you, for you, or against you, and just do your own due diligence.
What a brilliant message, Janet. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm going to leave you, as I always do, folks, with this. We only have one life, as far as we know, and one body. So please look after it, because it is looking after you. Until next time, Janet, thank you for being my guest. Folks, thank you for listening. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up, give us a like if you've enjoyed what we have shared. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please do. If you think anything that you've listened to in today's episode may be really helpful to a friend or an acquaintance, then let them know about it, because we are here to help you to enjoy life and to feel good in the skin you are in. Have a great day, whatever you're doing. Take care of you. Bye-bye.